In this GIMP lesson, we're gonna continue to talk about the basics of GIMP, and we're gonna do some examples, and we're gonna explore more the select drop-down menu, the view drop-down menu, and the image drop-down menu. So the first thing we're gonna do is open again a file that we created previously. And so I'm gonna go into my assets here, and I'm gonna open the logo, the GIMP logo. Well, this is already cropped. You can see that it's missing some parts. And when you save or you export, you cannot retrieve the missing pixels in this case. So be careful when you either crop or you resize or upscale or downscale, because you can see that you will miss some parts and you cannot retrieve them. These are like irreversible operation. Now I'm going to open up another file here. So we created and exported some of these files. So let's open up this test one that we exported previously. So when you do file and export and choose a format and choose a type of compression here, compression level, you are actually decreasing the size of the graphic, but you are also compressing. So if you zoom in, usually the compression will show up with these big blocks, kind of big pixels, but these are not pixels. The pixels, if you zoom in, are these really, one colored square. So these are other artifacts that are gonna appear when you compress. So when you compress, things are gonna be lighter, but also they're gonna be, they're gonna lose quality. So, well, I need to go here to 100%, and you can see that from this distance, it looks exactly like the other logos. So, depending on what you need to do, usually in digital design, we don't need to zoom in a lot. Yeah, only if we want to, and we want to like take a closer look, but usually we stay at 100%. When we print, we probably want to make sure that we don't have these low quality graphics. These are only good when you need to have not too heavy images and you want to go really fast. Now, so compression is going to cause the loss of quality, but also when you downscale and perhaps you want to rescale. So let's use this one here. So let's use this logo right here, and or you can use any image. So just to show you here, if I go and in the image resize, we already talked about this in the previous video, but let's just go back here and go to scale image. So here, if you decrease the size, so let's make this 100, then we're gonna have less pixels. So let's scale. Okay, and so it's faster to see the pixels now when I zoom. Now, if I rescale again, so if I go to image, scale image, and make this bigger again, so let's make like even bigger, 300, and scale, well, you can see we already have a lot of pixels in here, so it's gonna do a good job, but you see that it's kind of losing focus and things are a little bit defocused and blurred. So this is because GIMP, it's kind of inventing the pixels that aren't there anymore. So it's kind of auto-generating, try to interpret the image that you are giving him and try to rebuild using more and more pixels that weren't there. So when you do this process, you downscale and then you go back and upscale again, you're gonna lose information. You're gonna use pixel, you're gonna lose colors, you're gonna lose details, and so on. So this is a way that GIMP is gonna like try to fix this problem. And if we go here again to image, scale image, now this is called interpolation, and interpolation is kind of an interpretation of what the image is. Now you have the linear, or also called bilinear, and this is suggested to be used with texts when you have like linear things, not like curvy and like pictures and things like that. And then you have cubic, or also called bicubic, and this is suggested for images like this. And then you have no halo and low halo. Now these are when you have halo situations, like you have something that it's like having white halos or dark halos around. You want to limit that, and what is said is to use the no halo and low halo, especially when you downscale. So when you again do like 100, let's go downscale again. There you go. So this is gonna avoid to create halos and things like that. But this is just theory. In my opinion, you should try different types of scaling and see which one is better. Now, another way to fix this blurred, and always check the image at 100%. So yeah, you can see that at 100%. So the actual size, we do have some problems here with, well, I accidentally rotated. So right click here and fix this 360. So yeah, it's still a little bit blurry. So how we can fix this away is to go to filter and to enhance and to go to sharpen or unsharp mask. Now this is gonna try to unblur or make things a little bit sharper. So you can see you can manage here the parameters, the radius, the amount, and this is gonna make things a little less blurry. Okay, but this is the situation where if you exaggerate, you're gonna see some halos. You can see there it's creating those kind of darker spots. Now this depends on what you're gonna use here, but not gonna spend too much time on this. We're gonna talk about filters later on, just to show you a way you can try to fix it, but it's not really working. And also it's creating halo. So remember, try then with low halo and no halo. Now usually I use cubic, and it's fine for me. Now let's continue with other tools and features. So let's go back to images and continue here. Now we have seen all of these, we saw the difference between changing the canvas size and scaling the image. So if I change the canvas size, let's say that I want like 1000 here, width, and 500 height, sorry, 1000 or 100, like this. So let's resize. So I have like a clear space here. So I don't have anything in this part. So it's an empty space. So if I select the move tool, I can click and drag and place this around. Now, perhaps I don't need all this space around. So there are some cropping methods that we can use in the image here. So one thing we can do is crop to content. So if we click, you can see everything that is not useful is gonna go. Only the part that it's filled with something is gonna stay. And also we have crop to selection. So we need to take a step back to the select menu. We saw that we can select here many ways. We can select all, invert, by color, and we can also use the selection editor right here and other stuff that we're gonna see later. But I wanna go back now to the tools here. So another way we can select is using the rectangle select tool. This is gonna select something more precise. And then also here we have other stuff that we're gonna see later. So I'm gonna click and drag, and we can see it's creating a rectangle. Then I can then resize by clicking on these handles. And when I'm happy with the size of the selection, well, I will have that selection. So if I just press enter, so you can see that I'm gonna have that selection right there. So what I'm gonna do is go to image again and do crop to selection. Now it's available because I have a selection. Before it wasn't available because I didn't have the selection. So it depends on what feature you wanna use. Sometimes to activate that, you need to do something. In this case, we need to select. So let's do also select by color. So I'm gonna select the white, and this is the selection right here that is going to show up in the selection editor or window. So let's go back to image, and again, let's crop to selection. Now you can see I cropped the logo even more because it's only taking this selection. Everything that is not inside that selection is going to be considered something to get rid of. So it's even a tighter crop. So we are cropping more and more the image. Now every time we need to deselect, otherwise that selection is going to stay there. Now let's continue, and now we're going to talk about guides or slicing using guides. And I think I want a bigger image here, so we can take images from the web. We just need to search in Google, and you have a lot of public domains, pictures. I've chosen this one here, but you have a lot of open source and public domain, CC0 pictures that you can get for free. So you just click here, free download. You have also the pixel size, and that's it. So I'm going to use this one. Let me just close this, and I'm going to open it up. Once it's downloaded, I can just select it here. And this also probably has already a compression, but you can compress it even more. You can crop it and whatever. So another way to crop or another way to slice is to use the guides. Well, guides are actually used for many reasons. So let's first see what they are and where they are. Now we can take the guides out of from the rulers here by clicking and dragging this. So this is a guide, but we don't really know where that is. Well, we can like look here to these rulers, but we don't really know where we are placing that guide. So to be more precise, and by the way, if you want to get rid of the guide, you just need to use the move tool and move it outside in the ruler again, like that. So when we want to create more precise guides, we need to go to View, and we already saw some of these features here in the View menu. So I'm just going to go down, and here we can access the navigation window. We can see the filters, some things that we're going to see later on. And if we go here, these are all show and hide switches. So you can see that the guides are visible. Otherwise, if you turn this off, if you click and drag here, you won't see the guide. So you need to make them visible from View and go here to show guides. So now they're visible. So I can click and drag this back in here. And also we can choose to show the grid. You can see it's a really fine grid. And you can also customize the grid to your liking. I'm going to show you that later. Now let's work with the guides first. So I'm going to hide the grid, but you understand that from here you can show and hide things. Also the layer boundary, which is displayed in yellow, and also the selection. So if you're selecting something like this, you can simply hide the selection so that is not shown. You cannot see that dashed line. Let's turn this on again, and so let's deselect. And so we can show guides, we can snap to guides. So when we move things in the interface, those things are gonna snap to the guides. So we have this part concerning the show or hide, and this part if you wanna snap to the guides, if you wanna snap to the grid, to the Canva edges, or to the path. So the edges are this one here. We don't have any path at the moment, but we're gonna see that later. Now let's check the guides. So we do have show guides on and snap to the guides, but where are the guides? Well, there is another way we can create the guides, and that's again from the image menu. So we go all the way down to guides, and we can do the new guide by percent. So it's gonna ask you the percentage and the direction. So if we say horizontal, 50% is gonna go in the middle right here, horizontally. And if we go and do new guide vertically, it's gonna place it here. Now we can also change the percentage, and that could be like 20% or 10%, depending where we wanna place the guide. So this is one way we can use it. Now another way to place guides more precisely is to go here and do new guide. And this is gonna ask me the position in terms of pixels. So let's say that I place this guide 100% horizontally, 100 pixels. So I'm going to say okay. So that's going to be 100% pixels from the top. If I go again and do image and guides and new guide, I can say vertical, and that's going to be 100 pixels vertical from the Z and the X axis. So if I zoom in, you can see the ruler will get more precise. And you can see this is 100% on the X, and this is 100% on the epsilon, but it's going downward because this is the positive side for the epsilon. So this is a way you can create essentially a layout. So if you want to work like creating a web page or some flyer or whatever layout you have in mind, whatever composition you have in mind, you can use these guys to be more precise. So let me get this logo here. So let me just do Control C because I want this right here. So Control C, and let me bring it here, Control V. There we go. So you can see the cropped logo is right there. We don't care that it's cropped, it's just to make an example. And this is a floating selection, so we just click here. So we're gonna create a new layer. Now guides are gonna affect all the layers. So if I click and move this with the move tool again, you can see it's gonna snap. There you go. It's gonna snap to the guides because this is what we set here in the snapping feature. So if you go back to view and we deselect snap to guides, that's not gonna snap to the guides anymore. So we can decide where to snap. We can snap to the grid. Now it's snapping to the grid, but the grid is invisible. So you can see it's moving like with intervals. But if you want to see clearly the grid, we can show the grid. And now when we move this, you can see it's moving using the grid lines. And let's go back to view. We can also use the snap to the canvas edges. So it's gonna snap to the edges right there. So the edges of the layer right here, of the canvas. So we can use all this to be more precise and to create more precise layouts in GIMP. Now let me just hide the grid again, because I want to show you also. Let's go back to image, how you can slice or crop using the guides. So let's just click, and there you go. So you can see it created many different pieces starting from these guides. Now this is also available in Photoshop, and we know that GIMP is a free alternative to Photoshop. So this is used perhaps in graphic design or also in web design when you want to create different parts on a web page. So you need everything to be divided, and it's basically creating an image for each single part that we created with the slice and with the guide. So could be handy in many situations, but again, this is what this does. And then you have like other cropping feature here. You can see it's telling us nothing to crop. We're gonna come back to this later. Also, we can merge the visible layers, and we have different options. So let's do like expanded as necessary and merge. So you can see now it's merging everything here into one single layer, so we don't have two layers again. Okay, and then we have, let me just go back here and let me just copy this, Control C, Control V, and paste it right here. And I want to make bigger, I want to make the canvas bigger. Let's make this 1000, okay, times 3000, and resize so we can see both. So we have these two layers, and there is a difference here. When you are merging visible layers, it's gonna merge whatever is visible here. There you go. Then you have the flattened image. It's pretty similar, but instead of using the transparent background, it's gonna fill the image with the color here that you have in the background color. So it's kind of like merging and filling everything. So we are losing the transparency. And then we have other options here like clip to image, which is pretty similar. And then we have here merge layers, clip to bottom layer. So it's only gonna take the bottom layer. And so these are the different options. So you can slice things around and make different parts, or you can also merge everything. And we're also going to talk about alignment and of the layers later on. Just want to get back here to the guide. So another thing we can do with the guide, let me just go back here, is to create a selection like this. So perhaps I want like a graphic element in this position right here, like this logo. So if I go to the guide, I can create the new guides from selection. So it's going to create a group of guides around that selection. And then we have removal guides. When you're finished with the guide, you can just remove everything. Okay, now let's go back to the grids. Let me go to view and let's activate the grid. So show grid. And here, if we go to image, we can configure the grid. So when you configure the grid, you can change the color of the grid. You can change the style, could be dashed, could be intersection with dots, could be crosshairs. And you can make it the grid bigger. So let's make like 30 pixels instead of 10. So you can see that is more visible, and you can continue to customize it. And spacing, you have the spacing here, the offset in pixels, and that's it. So this is quickly how you can customize a little bit the grid if you want to use it. So now if I again snap to the grid and I move this one around, you can see it's snapping to a bigger grid than before. Again, for layout purposes and things like that. You can also change the padding color, by the way, here in the view. So you can make it lighter, darker. You can choose a custom color, and you can go back to the preferences, whatever you want. So we kind of finished the image menu. Just we're going to talk about align layers later and other stuff later. Here we also have image properties. If you want to see the properties, the data behind this image right here. And you also have the metadata. If you want to insert like the document title or the author, you can insert all this information right here. Write metadata, and that's it. So we kind of close this part. And in the view also, what else we have interesting here? Well, we can show or hide the menu bar, the rulers. So rulers are now off, or the scroll bars here. So you cannot scroll, but you need to use the pan. You cannot use the scroll bar, and the status bar down here at the bottom. So you can like kind of clean up the view a little bit. You can also hide the menu bar. Now be careful, because if you hide the menu bar, well, how can you retrieve it? Well, it's really simple. It's kind of a trick. You can just right click wherever here in the space and go to view, and then just go back here and do show menu bar. So there you have the menus, and then you can access this now again. So here we have covered also almost everything here in the view menu, and then we're gonna like talk about paths later, and filters, and colors, other stuff later on. So we have the image, we have the view, select. There are still some other things to see, but we're gonna see it later, especially this part right here we didn't talk about, and also the paths, again, the masks, the channels. We're gonna talk about that later. What I want to do is go back to edit preferences and show you another couple of tricks before we end up this session. So now that we are working in GIMP, and when we go back here, you probably know better and better what all these things are. So for example, we can set up a default image to start with every time. So you can choose a default image size, and etc, etc. You can like define here new templates, and then down here you also have the default grid. So this is the default grid right here, but if you want, you can customize this as we saw. So you can choose points or crosshairs or solid, whatever. So you can change the foreground, the background, customize it however you want. You can also reset, remember, anytime all these parts. And well, actually I've resetted everything about the interface. One thing I want you to notice is how small these icons are. And so if you want to like make them a little bit bigger, there is also possibility for that. So we just need to go to interface, theme, icon theme. And again, we saw we can change the theme here. So I'm gonna stay with symbolic high contrast. So they're gonna look better, but also can change the size. So not gonna not gonna let guess from the resolution, but I'm gonna do custom size so that I can make them bigger so you can see them and I can work better. So not too big, not too small. I think this is a good side. And also it's affecting these other icons in there. So I don't know, probably medium is fine. And okay, so that's it. So this is gonna be it for this lesson. And if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel and also to stay updated. And if you want to support us more, you can join the channel as a supporter so we can create more videos, guides, and courses like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.